Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB.
Yes.
How are you?
Here's my cocktail. I'm good.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Look at us together again in person. I like this so much better.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
It's nice. Yeah. It's always nice seeing you over the computers.
Right. I have, but I have my background. I have it all set up, and it's and we're using your computer because your camera is good and mine is terrible.
Oh, this happened literally seconds before.
Yeah.
I come down, right? Because it takes me a little bit longer to get ready than Greg. And I sit here and I look into his camera and we look like ghouls. I
mean, Halloween is coming.
It was terrible.
And we're talking about a lot of ghouls this week.
We are talking about ghouls this week. Maybe that's the theme. Yeah, but I don't need to look like one.
I don't need
I am old enough.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I don't need that. All right.
It's been a crazy week. There's a new show I'm watching.
God. Oh, yeah. What is it?
Yeah, it's called Orange Nazi is the New Black Nazi. It's really good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's good. It's on...
How original.
Right? I know.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. I don't know.
It's got to be on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Or maybe it's on Twitter. Maybe X is going to start its own studio. I have a feeling. Elon Musk.
It can combine with Trump Media, which today is actually the day that Trump can begin selling the shares in his crappy, ridiculous company. Yeah. And a related story, the price nosedived even further. I'm not a finance guy, but it's just kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes.
So I think people were crying in their Nazi soup over
no soup for you.
No soup for you.
No soup for you.
No soup for you. All right. It was a crazy, crazy week.
Yeah.
Obviously we're together. How was your week aside from?
I can't remember anything about this week.
I don't either. Why?
Yeah. No, I had drinks with an old friend on Wednesday. That was nice.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that was nice.
Okay, that's nice.
So something out of the ordinary. Which is good.
That's it. It's my dad. For everybody knows Reverend Jeff's. It was his birthday yesterday, so we had a really nice dinner last night.
That's good. Happy birthday.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good. It was lovely, really lovely. So that's it. And I hadn't seen Twitter all day. I get back from the nice birthday dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful night in the Adirondacks. Everything was lovely. It was all peaceful.
Okay.
And I go into the Twitter. I don't know why. I thought that would be an okay thing to do.
Never a good idea.
I swear to God, I had nightmares about sharks and orcas and things eating things, because of just going onto that Twitter.
Okay. Was there something particular you saw?
The list of things that happened yesterday, the nightmarish, ghoulish things that went down yesterday. We're not going to cover all of them.
We can't cover all of them. We don't want to keep our guest waiting forever because that's how long it would take.
That's how long it would take. Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Well, so should we get into topics?
We can get into it was very hard to narrow it down.
It was.
To the topic, so
it was. All right. So let's get in. All right.
We'll
I have it on 20 minutes. Let me.
Yeah.
We don't have time.
We can go 20 minutes.
Yeah, we could go 20 minutes. All right. All right. You're on. Talk to me.
All right. So, so making the list. This is how we do this. We make a list of what we're going to talk about, and we discuss it. And I'm writing it down. And I'm like, there was something that happened at the beginning of the week that I wanted to talk about, and I couldn't remember. And I was like, oh, right, there was another assassination attempt. And that's how crazy batshit the week has been. But I want to talk about that a little bit. I know this was a little while ago, as far as the news cycle goes, but I feel like it's important to cover. And just to review, this is on a Sunday afternoon. Okay, I'm sitting on my couch watching football. As I do, because now it's football season. Fantasy football's up and running. I'm doing very well. My team is doing very well.
Good for you.
Very well, very good. With
like
the best.
The economy.
Great team. Yeah. And my friend is DMing me little bursts about this guy in the bushes or something. And I'm like, whatever. And then I don't really pay any attention to it because I'm watching the football game. And then finally I go to it and I saw that shots were fired had been trending. But when I went back to look, and this is probably 20 minutes after it had happened, this incident, which was basically a guy was waiting in the bushes for 18 hours for Trump to go golfing.
Which is probably the longest anyone has ever had to wait for him to come back to the golf course.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Poor guy.
I know. And so, so anyway, within 20 minutes of this happening, it's already gone from Twitter. It's just gone. And because it's the football, no one cares. And this is the other thing. It speaks to this thing. MAGA wants us to be sympathetic towards this guy. I think they have it in their head that America's going to like shut down every time there's an attempt or something like that. And it just isn't going to happen because we're just all tired of it. My friend is DMing me, oh, there's the information about the guy. And I'm like, I don't want to know about the guy. I don't care about the guy. I don't care about his is Trump alive? Yes. Is he harmed? No. Great. Is the guy MAGA? Of course he is. That's it. That's all I need to know. And that's all anybody, needs to know. And I feel like, if you watch the coverage after, they try to like, when the Sean Combs indictment dropped, people in MAGA land were like, they're only dropping this now to take the news of the assassination.
They went into the conspiracy.
To take the news of the Trump assassination off the front page. And it's like, dude, that was gone in 10 minutes. We care about Justin Jefferson's quad and whether he's playing on Sunday. That's all it's not something that we care about.
Yeah.
But, and I say this because out of one hand, MAGA is like, have sympathy for us. Our dear leader is under attack and he's under assault. And isn't this terrible with these weapons? And on the other hand, they're the ones that allow everybody to have the weapons.
Yeah.
And they're the ones whose blood is all over everything because of the weapons. And also, all Trump and Vance have been doing is stirring up shit and with the hostile language. This is what stochastic terrorism is. It's them yelling and screaming and blaming. There's the Haitian. What did Trump say yesterday? The Haitians and the people from the Congo, and they're coming from, and he rattled off all these places. The Haitian population in Springfield and everybody else in Springfield, Ohio, because of this lie, this racist lie that J.D. Vance got from somebody and Trump repeated at the debate, is now causing, real damage to these people's lives. And this is how it works. Mike Flynn and that network talks about assassinating Trump, right?
Why isn't anybody asking Mike Flynn or asking Trump? Your own guy, Mike Flynn, is the one calling for your assassination.
So that's happened. Alex Jones was talking about it. They were talking about it a lot.
God.
Then some radicalized MAGA tries to do the thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's all the fallout and there's all this blaming of other people, the blaming of the Haitians. And you know why they blame the Haitians, by the way? Because Haiti is the first time in history that a slave rebellion was successful. And the slaves had an uprising, overthrew their former masters and set up their own government. So that is the MAGA nightmare right there. And it's very, very coded language, I think.
Yeah.
So this whole thing. And then Elon Musk tweets out, why is nobody trying to kill Biden and Kamala? It's like, what the fuck, man? How can he do that and not go to jail?
That part of it all feels very talked about ahead of time. It does to me.
It's really something
to me. Like, okay, Elon, like, okay, well, or maybe he's just just always pulling stuff out of their, what, and throwing it around. I mean, look, my first reaction was, oh, and I was like, well, how is it illegal what he's doing? He's got he's got an AK-47. He's got he can't. It's very strange. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how he got his hands on that gun, but you can have a gun and open carry and walk around in Florida and right. He's fine. So it wasn't until I heard further news. Oh no, he's a felon and he's not supposed to have.
They had to figure out a reason to arrest him. Is the point?
Yeah, or if they shot at him. So and then I'm like, oh, like Trump. Trump can't have a firearm either, but I don't know if he has. He talked about having a gun. I don't know what happened to his gun.
His little fingers can't squeeze that trigger. Come on.
Oh my God. Well, look, there's going to be political violence.
That's what
we've already lived through. January 6th. We lived through massive act of political violence where people were harmed, terribly harmed, police officers, and died, and people died.
Yeah.
So why he wants to keep stoking up political violence is clearly when you have Secret Service protection, maybe he just feels like I'm going to be okay. I got it covered. So let's just create all this violence out there, and blame it on the black people. That's like what he's doing. And blame it on Biden and blame it on whatever. Blame it on us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
But I think that the violence and the blood, he said if he doesn't become president, there's going to be a bloodbath. He said that.
Yeah, they're trying to get it going.
They're trying to get it going.
Yeah.
And I think, and I hope, and I pray that the American people feel the same way about Trump, and they're going to put their lives on the line to get him elected in the same way they felt on Twitter on Sunday after the news broke that shots were fired. 20 minutes, it was gone. Just gone.
I understand that we're being told, and there's this sort of thing, you've got to believe that there's all these people who are, these Trumpers, and yet there are. I'm not saying it's not a big part of our population now, and something we have to contend with. I think, I want Mother Nature to take this guy because I want him to see through. I want him in jail. I want him to see these, I want him to lose to Kamala. I'd like for him to live through those things. But I just don't think, if people are saying, I'm going to vote for Trump, I don't know how engaged they are with his comings and goings. I think they're watching football like you.
I know that. This is the thing. It isn't just me in my vacuum. I saw it on Twitter. And by the way, there's no way that this was a staged thing. I don't believe in that anyway, but because if Trump was actually going to stage something, even he knows not to do it on a fucking Sunday afternoon when football's on. That's the last time. If you want to get attention from something, that's the last time you want to do it. It's anything in this country. Some things are sacred, LB.
Clearly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else to say about that?
I got nothing to say about that. I think we should move along.
Should we move along?
Yeah,
okay.
To our second delightful topic.
Our second delightful topic, which we moved to the second topic. Yeah, because it's a little, it's depressing, but it's worth keeping the conversation going.
We have to talk about it. Yeah.
So it's almost like, and maybe we'll just keep peppering in the lack of coverage over and the lack of inquiry and curiosity and sort of doing the jobs that we were hoping to get from legacy media, but aren't. But there is still a war on women.
Yes. And
we were talking before the show and decided, it's worth it to bring this back up again. And sort of like not trying to wrap our minds or trying to find some good framing for it as well, because it's gone. Yeah. Right? It's just gone. The news isn't covering it anymore. And we're still under assault. Yeah. Women are now dying in parking lots because their doctors won't treat them. So this whole thing of like, there are no deaths or there are no women bleeding out. And the women who survived that are saying, well, yeah, I did. And we're losing our ability to reproduce if we want to have a child, if we want to, because when something goes wrong and we need medical attention to save our lives or save our bodies, doctors won't treat us simply because we're women. Yeah. They won't treat us. We can't get medical care, life-saving medical care, simply because of our gender. How is that not a hate crime?
A war crime, all of it. It's against the...
It is a war crime.
Yeah.
To forcibly not just rape and impregnate and then force the raped woman or child to have the baby.
Yes. Forced
birth is a war crime.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just happening here. Just happening, we talked about the stochastic terrorism. And again, the war on women, there are heroes that are women.
Yes.
Right now. Don't clean up the Mac now.
Oh my
Isn't
God.
it great that they like to do that?
It's great that they do that in the middle of the broadcast.
One of the other things that Trump did on Sunday while he was busy golfing and not being anywhere near the guy that was trying to kill him is he tweeted, "I hate Taylor Swift."
Yes, he did.
Right. And which is funny. It's pathetic that he would do that. But that is also an example of he is signaling to his, his people, remember the Proud Boys went to Springfield, Ohio.
Yes, they
stand
did.
back, stand by. They're there. These people are listening to him. So when we laugh at this,
it's even like he also understands that they are listening, even if he was just expressing himself. The lack of self-control and responsibility, it's not that he's not aware of what that might bring on her. He wants it.
absolutely.
He wants it. So you were saying, we're laughing at this, but
no, his people, they know what these messages mean. And you've said this many times. You've been following this for years and years, much longer than I have. When they say stuff, there are certain things that we laugh at and we think are jokes. And again, they should be mocked and we should laugh at them.
Yes.
But there are people who are in this weird bubble of crazy.
They have their coded language.
They have the language. And what that means is that Taylor is on Trump's list of enemies. That's what it means. And that puts her...
Maybe number one now.
Yeah, that puts her life in danger. Just like Elon Musk and all this talk of assassination puts Kamala's life in danger. And this is something that we have to pay attention to. And I think you're right. People need to ask Trump what's the deal with this?
But it's because she's a woman. It's because Kamala's a woman. They're coming for women. They're coming for our leaders. They're coming for our cultural leaders. The pop resistance queen. You know, anybody who it's political violence on us. It's this sort of inside out thing or offensive bullshit strike. That there's like everyone's trying to assassinate Trump while he's literally tweeting out instructions of hate and terror towards women.
Yeah. That's what's happening. It's not gaslighting. That's what's happening right now.
That's what's happening.
That's the reality. And JD Vance is even worse.
Oh
JD
my
Vance
God.
is I can't.
Nobody cares about JD Vance.
I mean, that's true.
The problem about no one caring about JD Vance is that JD Vance is going to be president if Trump is elected.
Yes.
Because Trump is not. And he's going to be like a Texas governor. Texas governors are play governors. They just get to play governor. The lieutenant governor is actually doing all of the legislating, all the shit, right? That's how it works in Texas. That's why you can have Rick, whatever the fuck his name was, that put on the fake glasses so he could look smarter as governor there for as long as he was. So we're going to have Texas governorship as the presidency. JD Vance is going to be the president. Trump doesn't want to do it. He just wants to get out of jail.
Yeah, that's it.
And have the fancy shit and have everybody call him Mr. President and maybe have his military parade and have toys. And
well, he also wants to get pardoned.
He wants to pardon himself.
If he resigns, JD can pardon him.
Yeah.
Or JD will 25th him. They don't want the people behind these. They don't need him in charge. They just need him to win.
They
the
need
election.
him to get them in charge.
Right. Which we'll talk about in the fourth segment.
Yes, we will.
The Opus segment.
The Opus segment.
The Opus segment.
Well, listen, I feel like even the Dobbs decision, even though we talk about they're sort of talking and campaign talk about this, but there's not enough news coverage about what's happening to us.
No, it should be it's the most important story.
It's the most important story. And I just want everybody here listening to just remember that, not just about because we have an election coming up and it's so consequential and we have to get to it. We need to stop this assault. We need to stop the war that's being waged on us. Really, truly. Like it's enough. I can't even remember what it was the other day that set me off listening to JD Vance or Trump or someone talking and people just pontificating about it. And I was just like, just stop killing us. How about that?
Yeah.
How about you stop raping and killing us? How about it? In France, there's a woman whose husband drugged her.
Yeah, that story is just...
It's such a horrific story. I can't even tell it.
Yeah. What
he put her through. And no one's even covering that here. Yeah. I'm not saying we should cover the horror in other places, but yeah, actually we should. It's a war on women happening all over the place.
Yeah. And it also ties into the Diddy indictment, which dropped, which is another horrible, just unspeakably awful thing.
Yeah.
That affects that directly.
Get the fuck off of us. Our dear friend Rosanna Arquette had that saying, get your boots off our wombs.
Yep.
Get off.
Yeah.
fuck off. Stay away from us. Leave us alone. Let us be the citizens that we are. We're not here to make your babies. Sick of it.
One more quick thing is that there's a talking point now in the MAGA sphere that Trump and Vance and some of these like, you know, Kremlin-infused right-wing guys are using, where they're trying to be like, well, you know, the people are coming that are bad from the border, and you know what they do to young girls. They, you know,
yeah.
so Trump is, and it's like, no, that's happening here right now. We don't need to bring people in to do that because it's happening here right now. And
that's what you do.
Trump does nothing to stop it because he participates in it. This guy in North Carolina is not going to do anything to stop it. Greg Abbott has said he's going to eliminate rape from Texas.
Only way to eliminate rape is to make rape, to eliminate rape being an illegal thing.
Yeah, it's
that's how you get rid of rape. It's not legal. It's not illegal anymore.
Yeah.
You're not going to prosecute people anymore.
All right, let's see.
All right, that's it. Don't let go of the war on women. We need to keep that front and center and give the incoming president the mandate, Kamala, the mandate to put that at the top of the list. This is like, you know, we had COVID. That was the top of the list. Make sure people have vaccines that are available to them. Make sure we put in the right protocols. Make sure we kind of reverse the sort of death. This is, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of women. Put in a mandate to save us from being raped and impregnated and forced to give birth. Put in a mandate that allows us to get the health care that we need. Put in a mandate just to let us have control over our own bodies. Look at Sam Alito to have a voice and a say in my body, my decisions over my body, and my daughter's decisions over her body. That guy?
Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah, no, it's disgusting.
So that's the mandate. Okay.
I feel like there should be a better word than mandate.
I don't care.
All right. She's going to have that, by the way. When Kamala wins, it's going to come in, and she's going to have all of this popular support for a lot of these ideas. It's going to be something. We haven't had a president that comes in like that in a long time.
All right. We're going to talk about that later too. Okay, good. All right. So we have something we're going to do since we're together.
Yeah, we decided
we would do a little bit of this.
Okay, let's see if this works.
And now for a dramatic reading.
Okay. All right. Wait, I got to get my script here. So
this is a transcript.
This is a transcript script. So this week, a couple days ago, in the state of Michigan, Donald Trump had an event, whatever they call these things.
His rally.
His rally.
But he wanted to look like an interview because he wanted the attention.
Yeah. So, and he needed, not a man to be there. So he got Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who whatever he says, to come and moderate this thing.
Yeah.
So
because he lost the debate.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to do a fake one. Okay.
That's pretty much so.
All right.
I'm going to play the part of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and you're going to play the part of.
I am. I'm going to do Donald. Okay. Let's just read it.
Okay. A dramatic reading.
It's dramatic.
They were supposed to be drama here.
Here we go.
Mr. President, I don't think there's a person certainly in this room tonight and probably anywhere in the country that doesn't remember exactly where they were on July 13th. That Saturday when a horrific thing happened, an attack not just on you, but what I see as an attack on our entire country. I'd love for you to tell us why. Why do you want to be president? And why do you continue fighting every day, even after they keep attacking you every single day?
So we ran. Thank you, everybody. A lot of love in this room. I love you. You love me. You love Sarah. I love her. So we ran in 2016, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and we won. We then ran in 2020, and we did much better than 2016. People don't like to hear it, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist, We got millions and millions more votes. We did much better. It wasn't even a contest. I was telling one of the papers, they said, what was the difference? I said, well, the difference is we did much, much better the second time. But we had lots of things happen. You know what those things are. So what the difference is, because now in like 48 days or whatever it might be, we're going to do something that will be, I don't think it's going to shock the world. Actually, I think the world is going to be maybe prepared already in Europe. They want it to happen, even though they would not prefer dealing with me in terms of the economics. They still want it to happen because the whole world is blowing up and they know it's not going to blow up if I'm president here.
And now we skip ahead a little bit. Well, I don't think there's any question that America was better off under Donald Trump, and we know that it's going to be even better the second time around. Before tonight, I knew you were going to win the presidency. I had no doubt Arkansas is going to come in huge, but now I know you're going to win Michigan by epic, whatever that means.
But you want to know another sort of miracle? So the guy is now running for his life, and he's got a car a block away or whatever. And a woman is a woman, not a man to woman. See, A woman is smarter than men. I hate to say it. How does that sound? Our first great lady is very happy now. Let me just tell you, just think of this. Who would do this? I actually asked. I was with the sheriff this morning. I was with a couple of people from Secret Service. Who would do this? So, you now have a man running, not with a gun. He dropped the gun. We found the gun, but he was gone. And a woman driving in a car saw a man on the street, pretty busy street, running. And she followed him, and he got into the car, and she stopped because she thought he was in trouble. He was trouble. He looked different. He's like, trouble. She followed him. It wasn't very far, and parked the car behind his car and started taking pictures of his license plate. So think of it. And Sarah, think of it. No, seriously. Who would do that? It's the women. Not good or bad, not from, strength or heroism. No, just you see somebody running. I see people running all the time. And, she saw something in this guy that was bad. She may have heard maybe gunshots because there were 4 gunshots. Really, the shots, he never got off a shot. The shots were from the Secret Service. But think of it. Who would do this if you took 1,000 of these incidents? Who would even one person have done it? This woman I haven't met her, but I'd like to meet her. I'm going to meet her, I hope. But think of this. She goes in, she takes pictures of the plate, and then she sends the pictures into the sheriff's office. And the sheriffs are saying, wow, this is pretty amazing. And they were able to get this guy from 10 minutes at a high-speed chase on the highway. They got him. Otherwise, we'd probably have an AK-47. They had the camera. He had the whole thing, and the sophisticated guy even had the serial number taken off the rifle, the gun. But think of this. So we have all this stuff. But I'd be walking around saying, I wonder where this guy is. Is he in the audience? We would have a maniac out there. This woman was unbelievable because I actually asked the sheriff if it happened 1,000 times. Would anybody have done it? He said, maybe, but not much. Not much. So she did. She was really amazing. Amazing.
We're glad she did. I think there were a couple of takeaways there. One, the women of this country love Donald Trump and are going to eventually do our part eventually. And I think one of the other things we all know in this room certainly is that God is not finished with you and he has big plans. And scene.
That really happened.
He talks like that. He can't tell a narrative story. This seems like it would be a problem.
That really happened.
Yeah, it's a thing that happened.
Oh my God. Okay, so we hope you enjoyed that because I'm sure you all missed it because I missed it. Thank God. And now we had a closure for our dramatic reading.
We did?
We did, but it's okay.
I don't know where it is.
And we don't know where it is.
Okay.
It's fine. We're on a different computer.
Okay.
It's all okay.
Our guest returning to the 5-8, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, the Executive Director of True North Research, and the great judicial activist, Lisa Graves. Welcome back.
Lisa Graves.
Oh, wait, you're on mute. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Lisa Graves.
Thank you so much for having me. I was trying to build in some additional dramatic suspense there.
Were you there? Did you go to that rally? Did you watch it?
Yeah, no, I did not. It was incoherent. The reports of it and your telling of it was dramatic and conveyed its incoherence. So
I mean,
yeah.
I can't. It's so ridiculous, Lisa. It really is. Like when you stop for a second, it's like, really, we have to entertain this on any level as anything that's sort of serious or worthy of a presidential campaign, let alone it's the former president. No one asks him a single question or brings up a single issue from his first term. So he's also the only president seeking re-election that never gets asked about the failures of his first term, ever.
Yeah. I mean, it is, every time I see the meme, we're on the dumbest possible timeline, I
Yeah.
have to nod and be like, yes, why are we on the dumbest possible
Yeah.
timeline? And that sort of
Yeah.
epitomizes it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're so glad you're here. You've got a lot going on. We wanted to get you in here because there was that news breaking around Chief Justice John Roberts.
Your buddy.
Your buddy. You've been raising the alarm about this guy for years. I think since when he was up, like way long ago. So maybe you can sort of back up and tell us why it was such an alarming thing to you when he was even just being considered for the Chief Justice. And then what we're dealing with now today with this guy who has been able to skate below the radar this whole time, but I feel like it's finally catching up to him. I feel like people are finally seeing him for who he is.
Yeah, I was the chief counsel for nominations for the Senate Judiciary Committee when Senator Leahy was the chairman. That was after Jeffords switched. And so when I came into that job, there were a number of people that George W. Bush had nominated. There was a special group of them that were nominated on May 9th, 2001. Like the first ones they really, really wanted to get on the court, perhaps to tee them up for a Supreme Court nomination. And so I actually did the initial evaluation of John Roberts. And he obviously is a smart guy. There's no doubt about it. Went to Harvard Law School, Harvard undergrad, fluent Latin. But just because you're smart doesn't mean you're fair. We know a lot of smart people. You know, we've met them in our lives who are arrogant, think they're right about everything, who have, their own agenda, force of will. And he really was that guy. And in many ways, his resume, from the Reagan administration, the Bush administration, the first George Herbert Walker Bush administration, he was in the Solicitor General's office, and he was part of their efforts to destroy Roe back then. That also included the gag rule, where if you received federal dollars, you couldn't talk about abortion. It included the defense of people who were assailing abortion clinics, although he said he didn't support the violence, but basically siding with the protesters of the abortion clinics, and a lot of other issues. And so when he was nominated to the DC Circuit, it was clear to me, based on looking through his background and his writings that we had, that he was I thought a pretty arrogant guy, and that he was sort of their ringer. And this was when the mantra in DC for the Republicans was no more suitors. So the thing was, they didn't want to have an appointee who might actually follow precedents like Roe versus Wade, or follow other longstanding rulings of the Warren Court or even the Berger Court. They wanted someone like Clarence Thomas. And so the word was no more suitors. Well, that was why there was no opposition to John Roberts from the right. They were very happy with him going forward. And you could see what happened next, because as his nomination was pending, Rehnquist died, and they tried to put in Harriet Miers, who had been George W. Bush's lawyer. And she was a conservative Republican, but she wasn't conservative enough. She wasn't a true believer enough. She wasn't a sure thing. And so Roberts comes before the Senate and basically tries to distance himself from the fact that he's a ringer, that he's a true believer, that he was in, Reagan, Bush, and this is his agenda, and tells the American people that he's just going to be a fair umpire and call the balls and strikes, fairly. And he hasn't. He immediately started, revisiting abortion law, right, just months after he was confirmed, changing the rules for guns, changing the rules for campaign finance in terms of Citizens United's decision, changing the Voting Rights Act. Over these last nearly 20 years, he has helped enact that Reagan revolution through the Supreme Court, and has, through his actions, imposed really extreme policies on the American people, hurting our freedom. So I'm sorry to say I was right back then. He was going to be this man, and now the mask has really fallen.
Well, talk about how it has fallen. So what was the thing that broke in the news? If you could explain that to our audience, and to me, frankly, because I read it, I read the reporting on it, but I really want to understand how he was putting his thumb on the scale there.
Yeah, it really, the story from the New York Times, this was inside information, a leak from within the Supreme Court, and confirmed apparently through a number of different sources that it was John Roberts who has been driving this engine forward to protect Donald Trump. He has been
This
using
is the
his
immunity case.
and the
right?
immunity case, but also the Colorado case, also the case involving the January 6th protesters and the criminal charges against them for their violence. And so, in essence, you had this first part of Robert's activities this year, where there's this anonymous opinion about Colorado, and Colorado had made a decision to keep Trump off the ballot, as we talked about last time, I think, because the 14th Amendment says you're barred from office if you engage in insurrection. And the only thing that can unbar you is a super majority in Congress saying you're unbarred, but not for the Roberts court. They reached out to take that case. They took it really fast because John Roberts wanted Donald Trump on that ballot in Colorado.
Wow.
And he didn't even have the courage to sign that opinion. He made it a per curiam decision, meaning no one signs it. But the other part of that decision was, even though it was described as unanimous, when you look at the opinions, it's more like a 5-4 decision. And that's significant because two of the guys in the 5 saying that Congress actually has to affirmatively create a procedure for removing a person who's an insurrectionist. Part of the 5 is Thomas and Alito, who should have disqualified themselves, should never have been
part of the decision.
Yeah. So Thomas, whose wife helped push forward efforts to disrupt and disregard the 2020 election, who actually emailed Wisconsin and Arizona legislators to get them to do the fake elector scheme. That woman, Thomas's wife, he never should have been on that case. And Alito, who the court, meaning John Roberts, knew had the insurrectionist flag flying over his home in January and February of 2021, he sat on that case, didn't recuse. Okay, so that's the February case. Then they decide to take on the Trump immunity challenge to the DC Circuit indictment, the indictment coming out of DC about January 6th. And then they're just slow walking, no speed. Like they've just got to make sure to get Trump on the ballot. Now they're just like, it's the last case that's argued the term. Then it's the last case that's issued on the last day that the court issues decisions. And it's not a decision that's consistent with our law, with the Constitution, that expressly, like there are things in the Constitution, a lot of words. I'm sure Donald Trump has never read it through and through. But, a lot of words, but one of them is a set of words that he has uttered, which is he took an oath to faithfully execute the laws. So that's what the Constitution commands. A president has a duty, twice in the Constitution, to faithfully execute the laws, which John Roberts reads as allowing him to break them, saying that a president cannot be charged with a crime for so-called official acts. And he orchestrated that decision. That's what the New York Times revealed. And then he also orchestrated the intervention in the January 6th prosecutions to make it harder to prosecute the individuals who were involved in assaulting the Capitol and engaged in that violence and trying to disrupt an official proceeding of the United States, meaning the counting of the Electoral College votes, which are the proxy for our votes as the American people. And we knew he wrote that decision. We knew he wrote the decision in the immunity case, but we didn't know the lengths he went to do so, including reassigning Sam Alito from that opinion, one of those opinions, as news broke about Sam Alito's, other controversies in terms of his conflicts and his bias. And he did so quietly in a way that had not happened before. And this all occurs in the backdrop of John Roberts single-handedly stopping and basically trying to halt the effort of the Senate to adopt ethics reforms, which could have denied him the people he needed for these votes, Thomas and Alito. And so he has stood in the way of ethics reforms that are vital because there's a cloud of corruption engulfing the court. It stinks. The American people get it. You shouldn't be able to take these gifts. You shouldn't be palling around with these, billionaires, all this stuff. And Roberts tried to stop that. He's basically asserted that Congress has no power over the ethics of the court, even though Congress has exerted power over the court for years in terms of, setting the jurisdiction, setting the number of justices, setting the quorum rules, all sorts of things. But Roberts is not the umpire. He's a guy on the field running the ball, over the goal line, trying to, get that score for his side. He's been clever about it in terms of how he's done it. Some of the time, some of the cases he moves slowly, like on abortion, like dissolving abortion rights. Other areas where he can really put his thumb on the scale for his party, like voting rights. Oh, he hits that hammer. So Roberts, he's a political operator in a judicial robe. He always has been, in my view, and now we can really see it in, bold print.
Wow.
But the thing is, though, if we have an ethics rule, a strong ethics rules for the Supreme Court, Ginny Thomas said that would be treasonous. So maybe we should just listen to what Ginny says. I don't know. The thing that boggles my mind about all this stuff is like, what does he think is going to happen if Trump gets elected and makes himself a dictator with the Supreme Court? Does John Roberts really think he's going to have any more power? Because he ain't going to have any more power. Like, he's both very smart and very dumb. Like, I feel like if you game this out, it's not going to end well for them. They're going to have more power with Kamala Harris in the White House than they would with Trump. Yes, no, what do you think?
Well, listen, I mean, JD Vance gave a speech that we, helped document among his other roles in advancing the Project 2025 agenda, that agenda for extremism that Trump has tried to disavow, but that it really is the game plan for how they would advance their authoritarian agenda in the law. JD Vance gave a speech where he basically said, calling on President Jackson, the sort of infamous President Jackson, if the Supreme Court were to rule against them on anything, let them enforce it. Let them enforce it. So basically signaling directly, that their defiance, if this court, the Roberts Court, were to stand up to them, which it hasn't in many ways. Like even though during the 2020 election, there were so many rulings against Trump and they didn't go in and intervene on his behalf. Now it's a question. Given what Roberts has done, given the role he's played this year in the immunity issues in the Colorado case and more, would they intervene? Would they try another Bush v. Gore 2.0? But to your point, Greg, the reality is that Donald Trump and JD Vance, and I'll just say this in my personal capacity, have indicated that they don't feel bound by the law. No matter what rule of law language they use, they don't care. They want it. They're going to use that power however they wish. They're going to do these mass deportations of millions of people and rounding people up, with and including citizens, people who are, quote, birthright citizens, meaning citizens, people born in the United States, regardless of whether their parents were born here or not, and just suspend the rules. And so John Roberts, he's a smart guy, but I think it would be naive if he thinks that Trump would actually have any deference to the court going forward at all. And he has no accountability. He wouldn't run again. And he signaled that we wouldn't even have an election again. Right. So, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
I don't think he cares. I don't think John Roberts cares.
Well, to the extent that he claimed that he was concerned about the institution and there were no Obama judges and no Bush judges, I think we can see it's not true. It's not true.
It's a game because anytime there's this much hypocrisy and this much just sort of, and it's all had to be done in cloak. If you're doing it all in the dark and trying to find ways to make sure your name's not on it, you're going against what maybe he had stated principles of it's a con. It's a con. It's like a magician or one of those guys that are like, here, they're singing over here, they're picking your pocket. So I don't think he cares. I don't think he has. I think it's foolish to think that just because people sit on the Supreme Court, just like it was foolish to me when people were saying, oh no, Bill Barr will get in there and there's a way that the Justice Department works and it's going to straighten them out. And it's just, none of that is real. These people are, they are intent for whatever reason. We could speculate about it. We could, speculate maybe there's a foreign power in there that got in there and influenced. We could do all that stuff. It doesn't make a difference because it doesn't make a difference because what they're doing and what their behavior is to do everything within the power, which is a great amount of power that man has, to literally destroy the tenets of democracy, to make sure that it's not there.
Yeah, I mean, the John Roberts on the Voting Rights Act, I've been writing a book about him that's going to come out next year.
I can't wait. We can't wait.
We can't wait. The book is coming.
Without precedent. But, when you think about this is a guy who came into the Reagan administration, he's in his 20s, and he is hostile to the Voting Rights Act from the jump.
Yep.
From the jump. and he has continued that as a judge. There's no sense of this so-called modesty or deference to the law or the findings of Congress in reauthorizing the Voting Rights Act. There's no deference to the reality of the blood and sweat and tears, the literal blood lost to secure the Voting Rights Act. There's just John Roberts with this singular hostility to our voting rights in modern America and doing his damnedest in various ways to make it harder for Americans to vote, particularly African Americans who have been targeted by this voter suppression for decades, in fact, more than a century in different ways. And to this arrogance that he believes that he should be doing this. He should be reducing our rights under the Voting Rights Act and changing the rules to make it easier to gerrymander, to bleach out districts, to remove Black voters so that Republicans can get an advantage. It's grotesque. And yet, he sits there with the robes and he gets some deference from reporters because he's the chief and he's polite, but his agenda isn't polite at all. His agenda is extreme.
Extreme.
Well said.
Racist. Although he says there's no more racism because that's why we don't need the.
Oh yeah, there's no more racism.
So here's I'm again looking into the future and just trying to figure out. Right, it's awful. That trying to figure out where this might be going. I believe that Kamala is going to win I think the popular vote is in the bag. I think she's going to win the popular vote by a lot. I think she's going to win the Electoral College also. What if something happens? There is fuckery. And the Supreme Court and Roberts takes it upon himself to say, oh, no, Rehnquist wrote in the footnote and Kavanaugh, cited the footnote. And therefore, we have to decide who the president is. And the president's going to be Trump, even though he lost the popular vote and in the Electoral College. We have the final. We call the balls and strikes. And therefore, Trump becomes the president. What can we do in that situation? And what can Biden do? Because he has immunity, right? Can't he just say these guys are insurrectionists and lock them up until, after Kamala is inaugurated?
Well, part of my remaining calm-ish is to not focus on the worry versus the action now, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen. There are a lot of scenarios. It's very concerning what this Supreme Court has become, how extreme this MAGA court is, how willing they are to aid their political allies of the party that appointed them. And the phrase that I just keep coming back to over and over is too big to rig. If the results are too big to rig, it limits the space for that kind of intervention. It makes it more difficult for them to suggest any veneer of legitimacy to intervene in that election. And obviously there's a lot of machinations going on. You have Trump trying to change the rules midstream in Nebraska this week so that Nebraska doesn't, do what it's done for years now and have the electoral vote split based on geography. So obviously Trump is willing to try to rig the rules as the game is in process. But our defense at this point is as citizens is to vote and make sure as many people as possible vote and have that vote be heard. And then if things go to hell in a handbasket, let's talk and figure out what's next,
Okay.
Okay.
I like the optimism.
I like the optimism too.
I agree with you. I do think it's going to be too big to rig anyway. I think we're going to be okay. But I just, these guys I don't trust them any. I don't trust the Supreme Court at all. And
I don't trust them. Look what's happening. How could we trust them? Yeah.
I had to do a podcast about Anthony Comstock. We shouldn't know who this fucking guy is anymore. He should be in the dustbin of history.
That was excellent, by the way. It's horrifying. I had no idea what a terrible, terrible individual he was. I suspected he was a terrible individual based on the law and, banning access to contraceptives, and abortion. Now they remove the contraceptive provision, belatedly. But that dude seemed like a really messed up guy, but I had no idea. Everyone should listen to that podcast, Greg. It's horrifying.
Talk about a war on women.
Yeah,
right?
He was the sort of person who, when he got the whiskey ration in the Civil War, when he was in the Civil War, he would just take it and look at other people who wanted it and just pour it on the ground.
Honestly, I can't believe he survived the Civil War doing that. Who would do that? It's just it's a terrible person.
He was an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10 asshole. He was an asshole for the ages. He really was.
An asshole for the ages.
An asshole for the ages. Very Leonard Leo-y, which leads us to the next topic.
You're sticking around with us, right? We
Oh,
took
sure,
for
yeah, I'll
granted
stay.
you're here for the fourth topic. Okay, great.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
All right.
we got to do the buzzer.
Oh, I got to do the
Gotta do the
buzzer.
buzzer.
Yeah, we're going to put the buzzer back on.
We're gonna put the
Okay.
buzzer back on.
Here
Oh,
we
you
go.
took the buzzer
Thank
off
God
of me.
we're-
That was very nice. That was so nice of you. Thanks for.
No, we don't. You know, the third segment. There's never a buzzer.
Never
we
a
don't do the
buzzer.
You know, that's
Yeah.
not what happens. Are we
I wanted it once, but
okay?
yeah, we're going.
All right,
You're going.
we're
That's all
rolling.
right.
The other name in the news lately is my buddy Leonard Leo, who was very much a 21st century Anthony Comstock in a lot of ways. There was finally stuff starting to come out about him in the big press. The New York Times, Thomas Edsel, what's his name? Edsel?
Tom Edsel wrote a great column.
And it had a great column about just kind of breaking down who Leo is and the Opus Dei stuff. Our friend Nina Burley wrote an article in I think New Republic about just sort of breaking down Opus Dei. Gareth Gore has a book coming out, which we have copies of, called Opus, which has the word human trafficking right in the damn title, right? I've been on the show and elsewhere just kind of like dismissing the Da Vinci Code bullshit, but apparently most of the Da Vinci Code bullshit is also true. So it's really going to shock people when that book comes out, I think.
Yeah.
So I saw that True North was mentioned in Tom's piece in the New York Times. So I just wanted to ask what your feelings are about Leo right now at the moment. Where do you think he is in the grand scheme of things? What do you think he's up to? And do you think that all of this spotlight on him is going to help in some way expose him and get him, devoid of power in some way?
Well, mentioning Anthony Comstock right before him reminds me that his middle name is Anthony. So maybe I'll have to start thinking about him as Leo Anthony Comstock Leonard.
There we go.
That regressive agenda that he embodies, that he's put forward on the courts, and not just the U.S. Supreme Court, the lower federal courts, the state Supreme Court, state attorneys general, other offices that he's targeted, these levers of power to advance his agenda and to basically try to make his personal views into binding law on other Americans. He's sitting on $1 billion fund that a extreme right-wing billionaire from Chicago handed over to him a few years ago. He's said that he's planning on basically getting additional investment into some media company later this year. He's issued a letter that it seems certainly like it came from him. It was a draft letter with "Dear X, if you all don't deliver, basically, I'm not going to fund your work. If you're just talking about ideas versus the consequences and trying to make this agenda into law, then you're not going to get my money." So he's he has power, this guy, and he obviously has exerted that power in part through the Supreme Court that's been captured due to that dark money that he helped deploy. But I think it does help. Does it weaken him, as a person? He is a zealot. He is someone who has put forward an extreme agenda, and he's going to continue to push that forward. But what helps is people understanding it doesn't have to be this way. This is the orchestration of one guy with a lot of money at his disposal who pals around with these other regressive billionaires who want to impose their religious beliefs as binding law on the rest of America, including anti-abortion, anti-marriage equality. Like, when I think of human freedom, I think about who would want to deny someone the ability to marry the person they love? Like how, I mean, I understand that they wrap it up into a religious doctrine, but there's other religious doctrines that they apparently don't care so much about, like immigration, feeding the poor. It's very selective, somehow gay rights are at the top of the list, or abortion, women accessing contraceptives or the like, as we can see in the Project 2025 agenda, which a number of the groups were funded by Leo, in years ago, not recent years, basically, because we don't have current years, to help fund that extreme agenda. But I think that the more people learn about what they want to do to our society, the more people don't want it. The public polling against Project 2025 is strong, and rightly so. The polling on abortion and people accessing abortion is strongly favorable. He's not on the right side of history. He represents a profoundly unpopular anti-democratic agenda, which is why he wants and has sought to use the courts to impose it, because they can't actually win it at the ballot box. And so, I take comfort in the fact that his agenda is so very unpopular, but it's the money and the power that he has had access to that has made it such a threat to our rights. But the great, amazing, wonderful sort of lemonade of this is that people seeing what's happening are joining together to reject it.
It's great. I'm wondering if you see anything that indicates that they have a worry that maybe the people have the power to stop them, or are they just so confident that they have the power to stop us that they don't care? John Roberts, to me, doesn't seem to have a worry in the world. He knows what he can do. I think he's thought it well out. I think he's patient as much as he is when he needs to act. He does it with strength. As you said, he's just like all in on the voting right? And that worries me. That does worry me. I'm not trying to fearmonger here. I'm wondering if you see any kind of anything happening in any way, in any kind of, maybe they go and they do their speeches or anything, any kind of language, anything that they're doing that makes you think they're going, uh-oh, wait a minute, maybe we won't be able to go forward with our what we thought. I want them to be hesitating. And the fact that I don't see it scares me. It makes me think they've got something they're going to do no matter what, and they're fine with it.
Well, it's interesting that you raised that in part because one of the things that happened at that oral argument on the immunity case was that Gorsuch said, we're making a rule for the ages. We have this high-minded vision that we're going to, set clear rules. And it reads through that New York Times article, this idea that he's going to be above politics, and by somehow creating immunity for a president, not just Trump, any future president, that somehow this is apolitical and the people will embrace it. It reminded me of the sort of George W. Bush Cheney notion that when they, went into Iraq, they'd be embraced with flowers, upon invading their country.
Read it to liberators.
Like that did not happen, but there was a bubble. And so to the extent that there may have been some bubble that they were operating in, thinking like that they need to do this now, that it will bring clarity, that people will embrace it, the reaction has been utter disdain, wide revulsion at the Supreme Court asserting that a president is above the law, that when a president does it, it's not illegal. And so that, I think, may have been a shock to them in the bubble that they've been operating in, because that decision is wrong. It will be repudiated. There's a No Kings Act that it's designed in part to address it. But ultimately, Roberts is going to go down in history as the man who literally undermined the rule of law in America until we restore it. And I think he's got to have seen the reaction to that decision in a way that seems shocking based on his confidence that, he was just doing something that was right and normal and everyone somehow would expect it.
I have, before we end this particular topic, there's one more question that we have for you, which is, how do we fix this going forward? I mean, there's, it just seems like it's so broken in so many ways, whether it's the money or it's the lack of ethics or the fact that there's only 9 of these guys. What can we, and Leonard Leo having so much money at his disposal. It just seems maddening. But
and let me qualify that. We know you said numbers are too big to deny all of that. Say Kamala's in.
Yeah. How
do we fix it with her? What kind of mandate can we give her other than just reform the court?
Yeah, I mean, this is really exciting, I have to say. I'm not just a total Pollyanna optimist. I deal in the real world and try to have, real solutions to real things, right? But we have never had so much support for court reform. The support in the Senate, the support in the House with Jamie Raskin, Senator Whitehouse, obviously in the Senate, Senator Blumenthal and others. Senator Durbin has been moving in that direction as well. Jamie Raskin, AOC, the great member from Georgia, Hank Johnson, who's been at this from the beginning. So from the standpoint of leadership, Senator Schumer, like, we have a strong set of leaders who know we have to reform this because every other right is at stake. Restoring the Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Act, having any effort to try to mitigate climate change, everything is on the line. Can we restore Roe without actually dealing with this court? No, we're going to have to deal with this court. And then we had this summer, the Biden administration, both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president, endorsed court reform. This is a long way from where they were, 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, we know.
So there's there's momentum.
We were I think the only two people, us and Elie Mystal, were like,
you too, Elie Mystal. There are some early, early people who saw this, but now not a lot of people have come along, and also not just media people, not that it's just media people, not like tremendous good thinkers who are in this field, but the American people get it. They get that this court is out of control. The polling on this is huge. It's one of the most popular issues. People know it needs to be fixed, and there are solutions. There are term limits. There are other ways to deal with the court expansion in terms of like this. There's an idea about rotating. A president gets so many nominations during a term. There's a whole array of very interesting ideas that are on the table. But term limits seems to have a lot of public support and a lot of policymaker support. There are other reforms like the gift ban that Jamie Raskin put forward, the disclosures that Senator White has put forward. We have a really robust, amazing set of proposals that would really fix this huge problem.
And I think if you support sedition, if you're an insurrectionist and you show support for insurrection, you're off.
Yeah, exactly.
You're off the court.
Or
not even just I'm going to recuse from a case coming up, but that's it.
It goes to your oath of office. I mean, it goes to the oath of office, right? You're taking an oath to uphold the Constitution, and if you're basically in bed with an insurrectionist or aiding that insurrection and signaling support by allowing a flag to be hoisted over your home for weeks. Like that's a sign that you actually probably can't be trusted to interpret our Constitution. And, not just that, as we talked about, I think once before, like the idea that Clarence Thomas couldn't fill out a form for disclosing gifts, said it was, somehow it was ambiguous. Like if you can't fill out a form that thousands of other federal employees fill out regularly and disclose any gifts they get, then maybe you shouldn't be interpreting the Constitution at all. But I'm with you on the insurrectionist. It should apply to all offices as a disqualifier. Yep.
Well, no, what we'll do is we'll have an amendment and we'll write it out explicitly in the amendment. And then 100 years from now, the Supreme Court will also be bad. And they'll say that the amendment that we wrote doesn't say that what it says. So that the Supreme Court has to say, so we will come full circle like they did with Trump being on the ballot, right?
It's such a joke.
With the insurrection stuff.
But I'm glad that you believe that the reforms that our legislators have come up with at this point in time have a shot at being enacted, and that it actually will do good, that they're not going to, they're not wishes and hopes and dreams.
No, I really do think so. I mean, and the fact is that there's just so much public awareness. Like it's not just that it's the morally right thing to do to reform this court. It's that it's actually also the politically right thing. It has political momentum. And so those two factors coming together, could really move this thing.
Maybe politicians will finally listen. Yeah. Okay.
They do whatever's popular. That's how the Comstock Act got passed.
That's why there's still guns.
There was a big scandal about.
Well, I know we have challenge. There are challenges. I'm not saying it's an easy path, but we've never had a better path than we have.
Okay. All right, Lisa Graves. Look at you leaving us on an up note.
I like the up note.
We've never had a better path.
I like it.
I like it too.
So, okay, before we dismiss you and thank you, after now is when we have announcements. So other than the fact that you're working on this John Roberts book, which we're very excited about, which you will come back on the show here and tell us all about when it comes out. Do you have any other announcements? Anything else you're working on that you want people to know about?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So Alex Aronson is my partner in this work. He and I work together with Through True North and Court Accountability. And we've just published a preview of the Supreme Court term with the help of Mike Sachs, who's on our team, to really map out what this court is up to on other areas of law that people can check out at courtaccountability.org. And we also have amazing resources online at Project 2025 admin, Project 2025 admin.com. And we'll have some more more exciting announcements coming coming up in this next few weeks about other things around Project 2025, so more and more people can understand what's at stake, how it affects them, and what we can do about it.
Love it. And I retweeted the tweet about the court accountability. I'm going to do it again. So as soon as we get off the show, I'll retweet that again so people can actually go and see what you already have published.
Thanks, LV. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Excellent. Lisa, it was so great to see you and hear from you. And thank you for hipping us to everything that's going on and leaving us on a positive,
positive note.
Oh, yes. And also tune in. There's a hearing Tuesday in the Senate Judiciary Committee on immunity issues. So if people have time during the daytime or later.
Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday. All right. Yes. We'll be watching C-SPAN.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.
She's great. Isn't she great?
Love her.
I know. She's great.
She's just the greatest.
She is.
She is. All right. See? We turned it around a little bit. My mood.
Your mood, I know.
Yes,
That's why grateful. Before we changed the computers, we were shrouded in darkness.
Oh, that was bad.
But it was the mood, and now we're brighter.
Look at how much better you look with this camera.
I do. I don't look like a vampire.
Well, you didn't you would always looked a little bluish, but I think because you had all the wood behind you and all the books. Yeah, but now that I see how bad that camera is, getting him a new camera. Getting him a new something.
Yeah, I need something.
All right. Wait, did you have any announcements? Did you have anything you wanted to say?
I had my podcast today about Anthony Comstock with Amy Sohn, who wrote a book about Anthony Comstock called The Man Who Hated Women, which came out 4 years ago or something. And I read it, and it's a fantastic book. It's because it's about him, but also the women that he kind of went after and how he targeted. And one of the things, he conflated abortion and contraception, which is something Trump does. And these guys don't know anything. They're scientific dipshits.
They just don't listen. You think they have anything to do with contraception? You think they're just running around their willies doing whatever they want. They're not wanting to worry about or think about the consequences. And I think also pregnant women weird them out. I think they don't understand our bodies and they're weirded out by it. And we're just supposed to be, like Laura Loomer, something with a bunch of holes. That's it.
Oh.
I said it.
You're not even the one drinking the wine.
I'm not even drinking the wine. I blame the cleanse. I'm still on the cleanse, on the Ayurvedic cleanse. All right, here we go.
Okay.
I don't have an announcement, but I'm still hoping to have one soon.
Okay.
I'm trying to make something happen here. I don't know because it's tough, but to orchestrate a live event. But maybe. We'll see. All right. Last topic. 8 minutes on the.
All right. Well, we're not going to do it. We have this is the two topics, so we'll start off with.
We have to talk about. Are we starting off?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which horrible thing are we starting about?
I don't know. It's like this was crazy stuff going down. Here's what I want to say about Mark, whatever the hell his name is, the gubernatorial.
Oh, Robinson. Oh, I thought we were going to go with the whale thing. Okay.
Oh,
see, there's always something crazy.
There's always the whale thing.
Just
again?
RFK. Talk about.
God, that woman. Oh. Not to have a war on my own on other women. Oh my God. What is it about? Is it a thought disorder? How can anybody entertain RFK Jr.? Like, I would understand if it was Roseanne Barr. That I would get. But this reporter, okay, so I think and I don't think this is a one-off. I'm not just talking about just him. I think there's a lot of.
There's access journalism, and then there's access
journalism.
That's just how it goes. So, but again, journalism 101 is don't hook up with the people that you're reporting about. It's just this basic stuff.
Yeah, that seems pretty basic.
You really have to do, if you're going to be serious about the job, you have to have a wall between yourself and what,
even if you're friends. I have journalists at friends, and there's one journalist in particular who has a subject that he covers or had covered, and he was writing a huge story, and we're friends, and that subject came for me. Right? This was what, a couple of years ago now.
Mhm.
And it was tricky. Like,
Yeah.
this is my friend that's a journalist, just being friends, right? And just having information. And it was like our whole dynamic changed.
Yeah.
I don't know if journalists actually are friends. I don't know.
There's that line from Almost Famous, which is a problematic movie where he's like,
It's a
that's
problem-
not your friend.
that's-
He's a journalist. He's the enemy. That's what the rock band guy says.
I
right?
remember.
Yeah.
But he was covering him at the time.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
as soon as they're covering you, that's it. There's
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
no,
But then
you can't even be
But
asking,
al-
how are your kids? Like, it just is
I'm not a
not.
guy that cuts the whale's head off. I mean,
Oh my God.
I don't even
Listen, I was suspect of her. Back when, remember during COVID, and people were broadcasting from their homes, and she was clearly broadcasting from like a multi-million-dollar property over the cliffs of Laguna Beach or something. I'm like, oh, is this how you got access to my? It's like, who's your dad? Who are your parents? She was very young, and it was like, I don't think you are forwarding this on your Vanity Fair,
yeah.
you know, not even an editor's salary. I don't see you affording this, you know, probably easily $24-25 million estate. She's like broadcasting herself from.
Yeah.
Maybe it was in Florida, so it would have been a little cheaper. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you
Who
figured
is
that
she?
out. I don't know.
I was disturbed about that.
Anyway, so right off the bat, I mean, you can't, you know, there's certain things journalists can't do. You can't make stuff up. You know, you can't hook up with the people you're covering.
Can't take money from Russia.
You can't take money from Russia. You can't take money from sources. You can't, you know, there's these basic, and none of it, you know.
Can't lie to the FBI.
You know, if you're going to write about Paul Singer, you can't accept like, you know, a jaunt on a jet to the, you know, at AP, anytime anybody, even when they went to a junket or something, AP always paid for it. They never
Okay.
let anybody pay for anything
Okay.
if it was that way, because they had to preserve the distance. They
Had to
preserve the
preserve it.
objectivity. And once you're being given things, those things are
Well, listen,
designed to break down your
If the
objectivity.
Supreme Court can just wiggle and waggle and shake itself all about taking money and shaking people down, then you know, maybe journalists are just following in the steamed footsteps of the Supreme Court. I don't know.
I don't know, you know.
It's all just
So there's a
hurly-burly. I can't believe we didn't play the hurly-burly. It's a little bit of hurly-burly.
It's a little bit of hurly-burly.
Speaking of hurly-burly, can we talk about it now?
Please do.
So, I can't. What is going on in North Carolina with those Republicans? Now, I don't think it's all that different from the other sort of like depravity seems to be just the one qualifying trait now to be on a Republican ticket. Like, and to have Donald Trump be calling you Martin Luther King on
On steroids.
steroids, you know, and hey, he's my friend now, and he's the best guy, and this is the kind of guy we want. He's my friend. And then, you know, Fox News, as soon as the news breaks that, okay, he was in the trans porn sites, that's his, you know, that's his thing. And then posing as, this is Mark Robson, the gubernatorial candidate, posing as, calling himself a black Nazi, professing his love for Hitler, professing his love for slavery, wants
Yeah.
some slaves, ready to
Yeah.
go get him some,
Mhm.
and just being just the worst version of a human being you can be. Let me just be the worst version. The only thing I guess that wasn't happening was live video of something violent and horrific. Not that was happening, but like that would be maybe you could sink a little lower. I'm not quite sure. And you and I were talking before, and it's like, look, it's not like I'm, you know, of course he was in the trans, you know, this community that he absolutely has attacked and been horrible, and an raging anti-Semite.
Yeah.
He's a raging This all happened before we knew any of this stuff.
Right. Although
Right?
this story there have been stories about, oh, he used to go to the porn stores all the time. The porn
Yes.
guys were like, oh, that guy came in here.
Everybody's known about him. None of this was in the dark. He was even using his same email address on these porn sites. It was all okay with everybody, and now they're all acting like they don't know him. Literally,
Well,
Fox News like, I don't know, never heard of him. It's like, he was your darling. But it's like, the thing for me is, because I've heard this before from when I point this stuff out, and because I don't like using the word hypocrisy. I don't use it all that much because that's not to me, there's something darker going on. And it's that he's been shaming us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me pointing this out, right, of this man is an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm.
He's but also he gets off on it. He's in the porn forums as a Black Nazi, evoking Hitler and all of that carnage and death as part of his kink. I'm not kink shaming him. He's the one that's been standing on a stage or behind a pulpit and running for political office based on hate.
Yeah.
And shaming others. And shaming other, the very people, the very thing that is his kink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, there's no other word for it but hypocrisy. That's the word for it.
I understand that's a word for it, but there's got to be something darker.
I think there is.
Because hypocrisy there's almost sort of a get out of something, out of intention jail card free with that, of like, you don't know you're being hypocritical, you're just being hypocritical, right? Like you're not aware that maybe the thing that you're thinking you're actually doing, right? There's something that goes along with that word of like, oh, so you're a hypocrite. And there's like an awareness, there's like an expectation that maybe there'll be some enlightenment if you point out that someone's a hypocrite. This isn't that. This is, I know what I am, and I'm going to go out there, and I know what I'm into, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to spew fucking hate. I'm going to hate about it and cause real harm to everybody else while keeping it for myself. Yeah. That's not hypocritical. That's evil. Darkness. It's an evil.
Is what it is. I mean,
it's evil.
Pure evil.
It's evil. It's a different thing.
The one thing I heard, and I can't remember where I read this, and I apologize, is that this wasn't a Democratic Party leak. This was a GOP leak, that they tried to do it before the deadline to get rid of him, but it was too late.
He's like, no, that's the other thing. Like, don't you know yourself by now? He's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, and it's but
Why would he?
But good on the GOP in North Carolina, because if they had gotten rid of him because he said he was a Black Nazi, that would just be racist because they're Nazis. So if he says I'm a Black, it would just be, they at least they stuck to their gun. They stuck to their principles. They stuck to their principles. I think now enough about this guy. Now he was also on the Ashley Madison leak, right? Of course.
Oh my God.
But speaking of, now we've highlighted bad journalists. Now Lauren Windsor went on Ashley Madison and figured out that what's that guy's name? Christopher Rufo, the guy in Florida.
Oh yeah. What's up with
He's this schmo that's ruining that's ruining the education system in Florida.
That's right. Okay.
I can't believe anyone.
He's a weirdo personality.
I watched him for 25 Twitter. Seconds on a TikTok, and I'm like, I can't believe anyone would take this guy.
I know.
So she found out that an email address he had was also on this site, and the reason that she was able to verify, she says, Lauren Windsor, that this is true is because she used the email to ask him, and he wrote back from the email that was registered on the site. So good on you. She's the one that infiltrated and got the.
No, I know who she is.
Yeah, she got the Roger Stone quote and stuff. So people are doing good work, and we want to highlight that too.
Yeah,
people are doing good work. We want to highlight that too. So I don't know. We've rambled on.
No, we gotta go. We gotta go. It's 9:20. This is our typical time that we're done. Is 9:20 now. We always are at 9:20.
Yeah. Let's take the banner down. We
don't need the banner. Goodbye.
We didn't have time. I didn't have time to do like.
I hope they liked us being together again. I think it's fun. We'll have to look at the comments. I can't see anything because I had to put the things on my head because my friend was telling me my bangs look terrible, and this is how I held them back.
Oh. Okay. I thought the
Why?
bangs were good, but okay.
Yeah, I
You know.
don't know.
Yeah, after watching Lisa and listening to Lisa, I feel like, I don't know, why do I feel like something's going to happen, which is what?
I think we're gonna get through it.